What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in. It's 1TS Daily live right here at One True Sports. How's it going? Happy Monday. It's January 20th, 2025. I'm Zack Heydorn, your host of the show from Brass Ring Media and from Sports Illustrated. Pumped to be here. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful weekend. It is freezing cold here in Chicago. I'm not leaving the house. If I could stream all day right here so I didn't have to leave the house, I would. It is that cold outside. Bitter. Had the dog out this morning and was like, my face just instantly froze, and everything was, it was, it's bad. But I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you're here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. If you're on Twitter X, what's going on? Thanks so much for being here. I do appreciate it. We got a lot to get to, and we're going to try to, this will be a little bit shorter than usual, for some scheduling purposes with the holiday. Happy Martin Luther King birthday to you all. But we got some stuff we got to get to. Some big news this morning concerning Britt Baker. Want to talk a little bit about the TNA Genesis pay-per-view last night. And then, of course, we will preview tonight's episode of WWE Raw on Netflix. That'll have some competition, I think. There's some kind of football game going on today. Anyway, I have the live chat live open for you guys. This is obviously the best part of the show. So so get in there, mix it up. Always love to see your guys' comments. I'll try to get to everything that I can. If you need to make sure that your comment is read on the air, or you have a question that you want to have read on the air, definitely use the super chat feature. Super chats are a great way to support the show. And, we thank you in advance if you're able to make a contribution and ask a question or topic that way. Every little contribution amount helps. So appreciate you in advance for that. Let's start. Well, let's just get into the chat here and see what's going on. E says, great seeing Tessa and the Hardys, Moose, and Joe Hendry win yesterday. It certainly was. We'll get to that show in a minute. E, thanks for joining. Hassan says, hi there. Happy Martin Luther King birthday. Same to you. Iggy says, One True Sport, do you think Britt Baker should be in WWE? Oh, we're going to get to Miss Britt Baker. Oh, man. Yes. Very, very soon. So that's a tease. I'll let you know in a little bit. But thanks, Hunter. Appreciate you being here. Sean is in the live chat. What's up, Zach? It's freezing here too, honestly. Yeah. I don't think this is I don't think Chicago is the only place that's freezing cold right now, especially if you watched some of those football games yesterday. It looked so cold in Buffalo. Like, Lamar Jackson looked so cold, and then he comes out there and he leads this beautiful drive, and I'm just like, how's this guy doing it? How did Josh Allen do it all game long? Anyway, yeah, not the only cold place in the world, for sure. Andrew H is in the chat. I believe in Joe Hendry. Yeah, hey, if there's ever a day to say that, it's today, given that he won the TNA World Championship yesterday at TNA Genesis, and we'll get to that here in a little bit too. So Boss is in here. I love football. Got any predictions? Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see Notre Dame upset Ohio State. My tag team partner over at Brass Ring Media, Tyler Sage, will not appreciate this. But for me, who doesn't have a horse in the game, I want to see just a good game. I want to see a good competitive game. And I'm not sure that's going to happen because Ohio State is it's like a mini NFL team, but yeah. All right, let's get to the news of the day concerning Britt Baker. We'll start there, and I'll tell you what, it's unfortunate news, but it's not surprising news. And that news is that Britt Baker may very well be done in AEW. Her time in AEW may very well have come to an end. And this is from a report from Wade Keller over at PW Torch, who obviously I know well and have worked with a lot, and so I obviously trust this. But it's Yeah, it's pretty interesting concerning her future. So I'll read his report here, and this is courtesy of the Takedown on SI for the transcription. Wade says here, she might be done with AEW. At least the feeling I'm getting from talking to people in AEW is Tony Khan might have her in the same category as some other wrestlers where they just don't get phone calls and don't get called into the show. There is a lot of frustration with her. I'm told, and I've heard this pretty consistently, she's wildly unpopular in the women's locker room. One person said no one ever wants to see her come back. Speaking of that women's locker room, Wade also says here, there are other issues with her that have come up. She's become increasingly difficult to work with in a general sense. She has always had a reputation of being difficult to work with. There was a specific situation recently, not counting the MJF situation, where people just threw their hands up. It wasn't like a huge deal, but it was enough to sort of be the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of just feeling like, you know what, we've got a strong women's division now compared to when she was on top, and we don't need to deal with her if she's going to be this difficult to work with. So there you go. No comment on any of that from AEW or from Britt Baker specifically. But it sounds like she's done. And here's the thing. I mean, Britt Baker, I think Britt Baker, is certainly a little too big for her britches here, as far as just her perception of herself in AEW. Really at any point, but especially right now. Especially now when you have in that company, you've got Toni Storm, you've got Mariah May, you've got Mercedes Moné, right? I mean, you've got like high-level talents. This isn't Britt Baker, and Hikaru Shida like leading the charge. And nothing against Shida, but I mean, she's just not on the level of these other women. And to not be able to see what's going on around you in the company and in the division, it's just she misplayed her cards in a very, very, very big way. So much so, I think, like I said, she's wrestled 2 matches, I think, since her match with Mercedes Moné, at the All In show. I mean, she's not. I mean, that's what I mean. Like when you say something like, "All right, this is big news," it is because it's kind of official and out there. But she hasn't been involved in AEW in months and months and months. And even the matches that she did have, it's not like they were like a part of some big, big storyline or anything to that effect. They were just matches. And then you didn't see her again for a long time. So, I just think, as Wade says here, it's kind of like, I get people in the division and people in the company just being like, good riddance. Like, it's not worth it. We have other talent to focus on. And that's where she misplayed her hand. Britt Baker was a good star for the women's division in AEW at the time she was at the top. They needed somebody coming out of that pandemic era to kind of take the ball and run with it. And Britt was there to do that. And I think she got better with her heel character. Her ring work never really progressed. But what I don't think Britt Baker understands is like the wrestling business. I mean, and it's kind of like a cold thing to say to a wrestler, but like, what? I mean, she as a heel, she got cheered and never seemed to want to do anything about it. She seemed like she was constantly just yearning for that big, pop, when she was cutting promos, rather than actually doing business and helping make the baby faces that she worked with better. None of that happened with her. She just kind of did her thing and thought she was more popular than she really was. And I think the fact of the matter is, you look around the AEW women's division right now, and I think Tony Khan's right. If what Wade's saying here is true, and that's Tony Khan's perception of her, and that's the perception of the locker room, well, you don't need her. I mean, you don't need her. She's not somebody that you need at this point in time. So yeah, real real interesting report there. I'm told that, or Wade does say in the report here that this has nothing to do with Adam Cole, and Adam Cole isn't getting any heat for this. Yes, they broke up, but none of this has to do with him and her and their relationship or anything like that. It's strictly her and her being difficult to work with. So all of this begs the question: is WWE going to make a play for Britt Baker if she is in fact done with AEW and she, for whatever reason, is a free agent? And well, that's the question. That's the $1 million question. Sean says here in the live chat, I don't want Britt Baker in WWE, honestly. Her wrestling isn't the greatest, and her attitude, I think, could even be an issue with Triple H. I hope I'm wrong, though, because she has charisma. She does. She does. I mean, look, all stars in wrestling, all top stars have to have an element of selfishness a little bit, and they have to think big of themselves, right? I mean, because if you don't, why would anybody else? And I think Britt Baker has that in her. She thinks she's a star, and that's a good thing. Steve Austin wasn't the easiest person to work with. Rock wasn't the easiest person to work with. CM Punk, we know, is not the easiest. It's all over the wrestling business. But you have to pick your moments. You have to pick your spots. And clearly, I don't think Britt Baker did, but she does have that star charisma about her. She does have that. And I mean, I don't think that WWE needs Britt Baker. Not by a long shot. Not with that women's division that they have. No way. But if they think that they can bring her in and kind of, get her, and the WWE system, has a means of, providing some checks and balances to talent, like it's doing for CM Punk right now, I think that she would be a good, NXT level star for that company at the start. I am not putting her on Raw or SmackDown right out of the gate. No way. Not a chance. She would have to prove herself to me, in NXT. But I think NXT would be a good place for her to kind of hone some skills, right? So I don't think it's not that I don't think she's valuable. I think she can be, but she has to have a system in place to check her. And I don't think, AEW just isn't that. Tony Khan is just not that kind of a boss. Not that kind of a boss at all. Allison's in our chat. Hi, Allison. Thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you in here. Appreciate you. I see you have a question here about Jon Moxley, and we'll get to that in a second. Sean also says here, in the AEW locker room already has issues with Tony, so Britt must really have been causing problems. Yeah, I mean, when you have somebody in a wrestling locker room that just doesn't want to do anything, like, what do you do? What do you do except throw your hands up? Arakara says she was a small town wrestler who got lucky and realized she was nowhere ready for the big time DMD. Yeah, I mean, it's quite the story when you think about it. I mean, yeah, she kind of was the first woman to sign into AEW, and I don't know that she wasn't ready. I just think that she, again, has a little too much of a fond opinion for herself. Like, you gotta be able to be humble. You gotta be able to, and that's the other thing in WWE. Like you gotta have a humble attitude. I mean, it's not that won't work. For her, because she's not a star yet in WWE. Yeah. Andrew H says, you think she's lost in AEW? She would not make it in WWE. They'd work circles around her. Yeah, I mean, she's swimming with sharks there. That's what I mean, like, by the system checking her. The system checking her is important, and it's something that I think is a benefit for wrestlers going to WWE, is that you do have that check. And sometimes you need it. Sometimes, like, talent need to have that. They might not want it. They might not recognize that they need it or want it, but they do. And, that's something that you're not going to get in AEW, because Tony Khan just has proven in 5 years not to have that type of leadership, that type of leadership style within the company. All right, let's keep going here. Dr. Ross, it's been a bit, man. Thanks so much for joining the show. Dr. Ross says here, repackage Britt as the daughter of Isaac. Jesus, you guys are mean. Even to an arrogant Britt Baker, you guys are mean. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see here. All right, that's it. That's the news. So we'll see. Again, I don't think this is going to change your love for AEW at all, really. Because she hasn't been on TV, so you're not gonna feel like this big impact because she hasn't been there to begin with. But needless to say, I do think that it's news. It's news. It's big news because she is, one of the pillars of that company, and she's being passed by. She's being passed by other talents, and she's being passed by because she doesn't recognize where she fits in AEW in January of 2025. All right, let's pivot to TNA Genesis last night. I thought this show was one of the better TNA shows that I've seen in quite some time. It was crisp. It was straightforward. It was everything positive that I say about TNA, and everything negative that I say about TNA, minus some key pieces. It was straightforward. I like straightforward wrestling shows. I like good guys versus bad guys. I like good wrestling, and I like booking that makes sense. This had all of that. It didn't have anything flashy. It didn't have anything that was 5 stars. But it didn't have anything that was 1 3/4 stars either. It was straight away, a fun 3.5 hour watch, straight up. And it had some good matches. It had some misses. But overall, it was a really good show. The main event, Joe Hendry becomes the TNA World Champion, beating Nick Nemeth. Long overdue. I've been saying this for months and months on this show. You got to go with your guys when you have them. TNA's got to go with the guys when they have them because they're not going to have them forever. If you make a name for yourself in TNA, you're going somewhere else to continue your career at a higher level. You're not staying in TNA. So, now it's a clear path to NXT for TNA stars, but maybe, someone went in AEW. The point being, when you have a hot star, you got to go with them in TNA because if you don't, you're going to miss the boat. And they missed multiple times with Joe Hendry, but they got it right this time at Genesis, and they were able to tell a story, a longer-term story with him, and now he's the world champion. And it was a good match. It wasn't a great match, but it was a good match. And now he's got some opponents that he can work with, coming on the back end. Mike Santana is a name that I think, stands out as somebody who was kind of made on this show as well. But Hendry's the world champion, and that's big. Sean says they had to have Hendry win for sure. Yeah, gosh, they did. Christopher says, finally. Yes, Christopher believes in Joe Hendry. Also on this show, Tessa Blanchard and Jordan Grace had one heck of a match. Match of the night for sure. I was impressed by the pace and the psychology and just the bumps that they took, some just wild bumps, but it was just a wrestling match. It was a hard hitting pro wrestling match. And that's the thing with Tessa. We know Jordan Grace, and all reports indicate that she's heading to WWE, the Royal Rumble on the horizon. No surprise there. But Tessa Blanchard was the one I was watching for sure. And she's always been able to go in the ring. She's always been a really good wrestler, and she wrestled a heck of a match. And look, she comes with a ton of baggage. A ton of baggage, and a lot of it is not good. A lot of it is really, really not good. But, if she's another one, like Britt Baker, that if she gets into the WWE system and gets checked there, that might be the best thing for her, But when you look at that match with Jordynne Grace that she's had, and you think about her against Charlotte, her against Rhea, her against Bianca, her against Becky, her against Bayley. I mean, there's so many there's just so many big time matches for her to have in WWE that I would guess that that's going to happen at some point. And so look out because that she put on a performance yesterday that turned your head and go, oh yeah. I remember why everybody liked her so much. She's gotta take better care of her, her just personal stuff outside of the ring. I mean, it's the bottom line. You got to be willing to do business, and you have to be a good dance partner. And she hasn't been either of those, according to numerous reports. So she's got to get past this. She's got to get past her own issues. And she's, again, I think she's in a good spot to do that, though, because of the relationship that TNA has now with NXT and with WWE, which, by the way, was so weird to see. You had Shawn Michaels and Triple H tweeting yesterday all about, the TNA pay-per-view and how it's going to be a big night. It's like, what world are we living in 2025? Mike Santana beat Josh Alexander in an I Quit match. Josh Alexander says, I quit. And then he quits TNA. So they got a little bit of an angle there. Josh Alexander is a guy who I'd like to see in NXT. I've seen him wrestle, I don't know. So, I mean, over 20 times here in Chicago. I mean, he came up, wrestling in AEW here. He's wrestled for Freelance, I think, a lot of other local promotions. So I've seen him so many times, and he's talented. He's talented, but I don't know why it doesn't seem like there's a buzz for him right now to have been to join either AEW or WWE, and there should be. And NXT I think is a good place for him. So hopefully he gets that opportunity because I think he is really talented. He is really talented. And then Santana, Mike Santana. Wow. I mean, talk about a guy who's reinvented himself. That guy has, he's becoming slowly but surely a face of of TNA, which is pretty exciting. The Hardys were on the show. They beat the Rascals to retain their tag titles. E says here, what did you have against the Hardy Pop yesterday at Genesis? Just seen on Twitter. Is it still 06 or whatever? Well, it's just crazy that, they got the pop of the night. Bigger than Joe Hendry winning the title, all that. No question. Hardy's biggest pop of the night. And it's just weird. I mean, whatever. Weird isn't the word. It's just surprising to me. I mean, I don't know. They don't do it for me in the ring anymore. Or really at all. I just think they're kind of just past being relevant, but they are relevant. So, that's me. I seeing them do the job to the Rascals or seeing the Rascals job out to them, it's like, okay. I don't know. It just seems like they're hanging on, collecting paychecks. And look, I like Hardy's just as much as the next guy, but I don't think TNA needs him. I don't think TNA needs him anymore. But they did win. So there you go. They're the champions. And we had Fraxium, NXT tag team champions on the show. They're going to be facing the Rascals in a match on Impact on Thursday night. What a world. What a world we live in. All right. And now let's quickly just take a look ahead here to tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. We've got a show that is got some competition with the national championship game. And it's I think the show kind of seems to be that's taking that into account. So Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, that's your main event. That's the big match on the show. Lyra Valkyria is going to be on the show, making her first appearance as Women's IC Champion. We don't know whether or not she is going to actually wrestle. The New Day will be in the ring. Damage Control is going to face Pure Fusion Collective. Sami Zayn is going to address the WWE Universe. Jey Uso is going to address the WWE Universe. And we're going to get an appearance from JBL. The appearance you deep down wanted inside. He was on the show last night, TNA Genesis. So not a lot announced. So I think this is going to be one of the shorter episodes of Raw on Netflix. Obviously, some matches are sure to get made in the show for sure, but I would expect Seth and Drew to get some time. With everything going on with the competition and the inauguration that's today, they've got competition, and so I don't think you're going to see a ton of storyline development on the show tonight. What you do need to see is pieces on the board for the WWE Women's Royal Rumble. Men's is doing great. Women's is is that even happening? They got to get going on that, and I think you'll see that happen tonight. We'll talk about it all tomorrow right here on 1TS Daily Live Tuesday, the Tuesday edition of the show where we usually review Monday Night Raw. So check it out. Byron is in the chat here and says he believes in Joe Hendry. There you go. Thanks, guys. We'll wrap it up there. Appreciate you guys for joining the show. Fun way to kick off Monday morning, Martin Luther King Day. Fun way to stay warm here in Chicago. Goodness gracious. If you want more of my stuff and more of our work from Brass Ring Media and the Brass Ring Media team, check us out on YouTube. We have a Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. Just search Brass Ring Media on YouTube and you can find that. We also have a Substack newsletter, which is where all of our written work goes. And we would love to have some of you guys as Brass Ring Media members. It'd be really cool to see some of you pop up over there. We've got two different membership tiers. One that includes free super chats, and the other is just a straight up, membership tier. The regular price is $4 a month. That's it, and that gets you a member only show once a week. All of our pay-per-view and PLE review shows, full access to our Discord community where all of our members hang out and talk wrestling and life in general. Real fun group community over there. All odds and ends that pop up, and also free access to the newsletter, total complete access to the newsletter, paid and regular content. So check it out. It's on Patreon, patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. I think you'll really enjoy what we do there, especially if you enjoyed this show. So hopefully we see some of you guys over there. Cool. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Monday. Stay warm if it's cold by you, and we'll talk to you all really, really soon. See ya. Bye.